Vendetta, Chapter 1, Bulletproof Glass. Jason Friedman lay on his prison cot. A book by Xavier Schmidt lay in his hands. He was no quantum physicist, so not many of its contents made sense to him, but it was intriguing nonetheless. The text was one of Schmidt's earliest and most formative, having been published 30-some years ago when his career was just getting started. Friedman caught his reflection in the mirror that sat above his sink, and he smiled. His face bore hard but shallow wrinkles. His hair had lost much of its luscious black color, though some still remained. If one was gazing upon him for the first time, they would never know that the whole world hated him. The world was right to do so, however. This cell had been his home for over half a decade, plenty of time for self-reflection. In that time, he came to realize that what he had done wasn't right. He thought the ends had justified the means, but he was wrong. If only he had gone about it differently, he might have succeeded. His reading session was, rather unfortunately, cut short by a knock on the cell door and an android guard sliding the door open. "You have a visitor. Come with me," came its demand. "I thought I wasn't allowed visitors," he stated while following after it. "This one comes from high up." Friedman's breath hitched in his throat. Could it be? Had James Whitecoat come to visit? The irony would be amusing. The very man he tried so hard to get at, come right to him? He was unsure, and for that reason, he decided not to speculate. That could only lead to anxiety. For a while, they walked. About halfway there, a simple thought crossed his mind. "Who is my visitor?" he asked, berating himself for not having the common sense to ask it any earlier. The guard shrugged. "Don't know. Some android." Some of the tension dissipated from his body, but the android's response only created more questions. It wasn't Whitecoat, at least it wasn't likely to be. Nobody would call him some android, that's for sure. But he didn't know of any androids that had the power or the want to visit him. They arrived at the door to the visitor's room, so he supposed that he would find out soon enough. The guard directed him to a booth. As soon as the dividing panels were out of obstruction, his eyes widened in recognition. Sitting in the other chair, behind the thick glass, was an android, somewhat old make. The android was garbed in a brand new trench coat and fedora. His chassis, visible in his unbuttoned coat, had lost most of its paint and was heavily worn and, in some places, deeply rusted, even more so than when they had last met. Friedman apprehensively sat in the chair adjacent to the visiting android. A silent moment passed between the two of them before the android moved his hand and pressed in the switch to enable speech between them. "Cecil," Friedman greeted. "Friedman," Cecil returned. The speaker added quite a bit of static in their conversation, but behind that, Friedman could detect a distinct crackle, as though Cecil was unwell, almost sickly. He could also sense a plethora of emotions hiding below the surface of Cecil's tone. Androids were designed to be as close to humans as possible, but Cecil was different, more emotional than any other android Friedman had met, for reasons unknown to him. Whatever Cecil had gone through since they last met, it had not been kind, and even though they were enemies, Cecil an object, Friedman couldn't help but pity. Last I saw you, I threw you through a portal. That was 12 years ago. Friedman raised an eyebrow. It's been 6. Time passes differently in other dimensions. I see. Why have you come here? You killed thousands of people. It wasn't an accusation, or quite a reason. It was simply a statement of fact. Friedman leaned back in his chair. That's a lot less than... Cecil slammed his fists on the table that separated them, causing Friedman to jump up. He placed his hand on his chest. His heart was racing, and he realized that he was afraid. That thought, of course, betrayed the most basic of common sense. Cecil could not hurt him. He couldn't even want to hurt him. That would defy the code. He looked past Cecil and at the android guards standing past him. They had their hands on their weapons, arms tensed, and a certain look on them that made it clear they knew as little as he about how Cecil might act. Cecil spoke again, his synthesized voice heavily laced with anger and malice. You killed thousands. Cecil moved his arms from where they had struck, revealing a visible indent in the metal table, and he clasped his hands together. Friedman gulped his saliva down in an attempt to steel himself. I was not directly responsible for many of those people. You may not have pulled the trigger, but you were the voice that commanded it. Friedman scratched at his neck. Yes, you're right. A moment passed. Another. The tension was palpable. It could almost be seen in the air. A third moment went by. A fourth. A fifth came and went. A sixth gone by. The tension dissipated just enough for the guards to release their holds on their weapons. One final, silent moment passed, and then Cecil spoke again, knocking on the glass that partitioned them apart. This glass is awfully thin, you know. I'd expect them to keep someone of your stature behind something thicker. Probably couldn't stop anything bigger than 45. Definitely not 12.7. Friedman chuckled as he realized that Cecil was serious. You can't shoot me. You know that. It's the second law of the code. Oh, and please tell, what is the second law? Because I can't quite remember. Something in Cecil's voice gave him pause. He was very clearly lying. All androids had the code ingrained in their programming. It was a basic set of rules all of them had to obey. Their programming wouldn't allow for them to stray from it. The second law of the code states that no android may harm a human unless to save a far greater number of humans. Friedman pursed his lips. But as I'm sure you know, I can't do much harm in a cell. You can't harm me. You can't even want to harm me. Sure. It's a shame then. Friedman heard a click, and Cecil placed his hand below the table, near his hips, and pulled it back up, this time with a pistol in it. A pistol Friedman knew had a caliber of 12.7 millimeters. That I don't have such weaknesses. Friedman tried to scream. He never got the chance. A bang and shattering of glass silenced all other sounds. The guards rushed to Cecil and grabbed his arms to restrain him. As Friedman's lifeless body fell to the floor, blood pooling from the hole in his forehead.